Shermans, Stuarts, Lees, and Pershings. These are the American tanks that rolled across deserts, hedgerows, and shattered cities to break the Axis war machine. From early training grounds to brutal frontline combat, each design reflects how the United States learned, adapted, and ultimately overwhelmed its enemies with steel and production. Let's begin with tanks. M2 light tank was built before the war as a training vehicle, lightly armored and modestly armed, but it provided the mechanical groundwork and crew experience that shaped later American armor. M3 Stuart became the first U.S. tank to fight in large numbers, prized for its speed and reliability, even as its 37mm gun proved inadequate against heavier opposition. M5 Stuart refined the concept with improved engines and crew comfort, continuing to serve as a fast reconnaissance tank throughout the conflict. M22 Locust was designed for airborne forces, compact enough to be delivered by glider, symbolizing an ambitious attempt to give paratroopers armored support despite limited combat use. M3 Lee emerged as an urgent stopgap, combining a hull-mounted 75mm gun with a smaller turret weapon, awkward in shape but critical in delivering firepower when it was desperately needed. M4 Sherman became the symbol of American armored warfare, not for being the most powerful tank, but for its reliability, ease of repair, and massive production that kept Allied units moving forward. M4A3E2 Jumbo Sherman added heavy frontal armor for assault operations, sacrificing speed to survive direct enemy fire. M26 Pershing arrived late as America's answer to heavy German tanks, carrying a 90mm gun capable of fighting Panthers and Tigers head-on. Marking the final evolution of U.S. wartime tank design, Tank destroyers represented America's answer to enemy armor. Fast, specialized machines built to stop breakthroughs before they could form. Let's move on to tank destroyers. M3 gun motor carriage was one of the earliest solutions, mounting a 75mm gun on a half-track chassis, lightly protected but capable of delivering mobile anti-tank fire during the opening campaigns. M6 gun motor carriage, built on a light truck, carried a 37mm gun that quickly proved inadequate as enemy armor improved, limiting its usefulness to early war actions and training roles. M10 Wolverine became the standard American tank destroyer, combining a powerful 3-inch gun with a rotating open-top turret on a modified Sherman chassis, relying on speed and long-range fire rather than heavy armor. M18 Hellcat pushed mobility to the extreme, reaching remarkable speeds that allowed it to strike quickly and reposition before the enemy could respond, though its thin armor left crews exposed. M36 Jackson emerged when heavier German tanks appeared, mounting a devastating 90mm gun capable of destroying Panthers and Tigers from distance, finally giving American forces a true heavy tank killer. M8 gun motor carriage attempted to provide anti-tank capability on a light chassis, but its limited firepower reduced it primarily to infantry support roles. M12 gun motor carriage blurred the line between destroyer and artillery, mounting a 155mm gun for long-range engagements against fortified positions. M40 gun motor carriage refined this concept with a stronger chassis and improved mobility, delivering powerful fire support during the final campaigns. Together, these vehicles reflected a doctrine built on speed, ambush tactics, and concentrated firepower, demonstrating how American forces adapted rapidly to the changing demands of armored warfare. Self-Propelled Artillery gave American forces the ability to bring heavy firepower forward at the same pace as advancing armor and infantry. Let's move on to self-propelled artillery and assault guns. M7 Priest was the most recognizable of these vehicles, mounting a 105mm howitzer on a tank chassis and earning its nickname from the pulpit-shaped machine gun ring, allowing artillery units to deliver rapid indirect fire wherever it was needed. M8 howitzer motor carriage Scott placed a 75mm pack howitzer on a light tank chassis, providing close support fire against bunkers and strong points, while retaining enough mobility to operate alongside infantry. M12 gun motor carriage brought overwhelming power to the battlefield, by mounting a 155mm gun on an older tank chassis. Designed for long-range bombardment and famously used to break hardened defensive lines in Western Europe. M40 gun motor carriage followed as an improved successor, pairing the same devastating long-tom 155mm gun with a wider and more stable chassis that increased accuracy and survivability during sustained fire missions. M43 howitzer motor carriage expanded this concept further by replacing the gun with a massive 8-inch howitzer, delivering immense destructive force against fortifications and urban defenses during the final push into Germany. M4 105mm Sherman assault gun adapted the standard Sherman tank for direct fire support, fitting a 105mm howitzer into the turret to give tank units organic, high explosive capability for clearing obstacles and enemy positions. Together, these vehicles ensured that American artillery could keep pace with fast-moving operations, reinforcing the idea that mobility and firepower were inseparable on the modern battlefield. Scout cars, armored cars, and fast reconnaissance vehicles. These were the machines that moved ahead of the main force, finding the enemy before the enemy could react. Let's move on to armored cars and reconnaissance vehicles. M3 Scout car served as one of the earliest American armored reconnaissance vehicles. Lightly protected but reliable, carrying commanders, scouts, and heavy machine guns across early battlefields before more advanced designs appeared. M8 Greyhound became the standard American armored car, combining speed, quiet operation, and a 37mm gun that was effective against infantry and light vehicles, though it lacked the protection to survive sustained combat against tanks. M20 armored utility car was based on the Greyhound chassis but removed the turret, creating a flexible command and reconnaissance platform that could transport officers, radio equipment, or troops while retaining light armor protection. T-17E1 Staghound represented a heavier approach to armored reconnaissance, offering improved armor and endurance that made it popular with allied forces, especially in long-range patrol roles. M38 Wolfhound arrived late in the war as an improved successor to the Greyhound, featuring better armor and a more powerful gun, but saw limited combat before the conflict ended. Together, these vehicles allowed American forces to maintain situational awareness across wide fronts, screening advances, securing flanks, and relaying critical information back to commanders. Though lightly armored and vulnerable to heavy weapons, their speed and flexibility made them indispensable, proving that seeing the battlefield first was often as important as striking it with force. Halftracks, personnel carriers, and armored transports. M2 Halftrack was one of the earliest designs, shorter than later models and intended primarily as an artillery prime mover, hauling guns and ammunition while offering basic protection to its crew. M3 Halftrack became the definitive American armored personnel carrier of the war, combining wheels in the front and tracks in the rear to transport infantry squads safely into the fight while shielding them from small arms and shell fragments. M5 Halftrack was nearly identical in appearance to the M3 but built by International Harvester, using different engines in armor construction and serving extensively with Allied forces through Lend-Lease. M9 Halftrack followed a similar pattern, functioning as a general-purpose utility carrier that further expanded American production capacity to supply multiple armies at once. M4 81mm mortar carrier adapted the Halftrack chassis to provide mobile indirect fire support, allowing infantry units to deploy mortar quickly and relocate before enemy counterfire could respond. M15 and M16 multiple gun motor carriages transformed the Halftrack into mobile air defense platforms, mounting combinations of machine guns and cannons to protect columns from low-flying aircraft. Together, these Halftracks formed the backbone of American mechanized infantry, ensuring troops, weapons, and support elements could move together under armor, reinforcing the principle that mobility and protection were essential to modern combined arms warfare. Tracked amphibians, floating carriers, and landing vehicles. These were the machines that allowed American forces to cross rivers, swamps, and hostile beaches under fire. Let's move on to amphibious vehicles. M29 Weasel was originally designed for operations in snow and extreme terrain, but its fully tracked layout and amphibious capability made it invaluable for hauling supplies through mud, marshes, and flooded ground where wheeled vehicles failed. LVT-1 Alligator was the first of the landing vehicle tracked series, using paddle-like tracks to swim from ship to shore and crawl directly onto beaches, forming the backbone of early Pacific landings. LVT-2 Water Buffalo improved the design with better suspension and reliability on land, becoming the primary transport for Marines moving men and equipment under enemy fire. LVT-4 marked a major breakthrough by relocating the engine forward and adding a rear ramp, allowing troops and vehicles to disembark quickly and safely instead of climbing over the sides. LVTA-1 armed the amphibious platform with a turret-mounted 37mm gun, providing direct fire support during the first assault waves. LVTA-4 expanded that role by replacing the gun with a 75mm howitzer, turning the vehicle into floating artillery capable of blasting beach defenses at close range. WWII amphibious truck combined a six-wheel drive cargo truck with a boat hull, creating a logistical workhorse that could deliver supplies directly from ship to inland depots without unloading. Together, these amphibious vehicles proved essential to American operations, demonstrating that victory depended not only on firepower, but on the ability to move men and material across any terrain: trucks, prime movers, and heavy transporters. These were the machines that kept the American war machine moving long after the fighting units advanced. Let's move on to trucks and logistics vehicles. Willys MB Jeep became the most recognizable vehicle of the war. Small, rugged, and capable of operating almost anywhere, earning its reputation as an indispensable tool for commanders, scouts, and supply units alike. Ford GPW Jeep mirrored the Willys design, ensuring production could meet enormous demand and placing a Jeep wherever American forces operated. Dodge WC series filled the gap between light utility vehicles and heavy trucks, serving as weapons carriers, ambulances, command vehicles, and troop transports across every theater. Chevrolet G506 provided a reliable 1.5-ton cargo platform, quietly hauling troops, ammunition, and artillery while operating in climates ranging from deserts to frozen terrain. GMC W-Deuce-and-a-half formed the backbone of American logistics, produced in vast numbers to create the supply convoys that fed fuel, food, and ammunition to advancing armies during campaigns like the drive across France. M4 high-speed tractor handled artillery pieces too heavy for wheeled trucks, using a fully tracked chassis to tow guns through mud, snow, and shell-torn ground. Diamond T980 and 981 heavy trucks served as tank transporters, moving damaged or operational armor over long distances without wearing out tracks or engines. Together, these vehicles proved that logistics, not firepower alone, determine the speed and success of modern warfare. Engineering vehicles, recovery machines, and liaison transports. These were the quiet workhorses that kept American forces moving when combat vehicles failed. Let's finish with engineering, recovery, and liaison vehicles. M32 Tank Recovery Vehicle was built on a Sherman chassis, replacing the turret with a fixed superstructure and crane, allowing crews to recover damaged tanks under fire and return them to service. M1 Heavy Wrecker provided heavy lifting and roadside recovery, equipped with powerful winches and a crane capable of clearing wrecked vehicles and reopening vital supply routes. M1A1 Heavy Tractor supported engineering units by towing heavy equipment and bridging components across difficult terrain. Harley-Davidson WWII motorcycle became the standard military motorcycle, modified with blackout lights and weapon scabbards to carry couriers, military police, and messengers quickly through congested rear areas. Indian 741 motorcycle supplemented the Harley, lighter and simpler, serving extensively with Allied and Commonwealth forces. Ford Staff Car adapted civilian automobile design for military use, offering commanders a discreet and mobile means of transport between headquarters. Chevrolet Staff Car filled the same role, providing reliable transportation for senior officers behind the front lines. Together, These vehicles rarely appeared in combat footage, yet they formed the backbone of maintenance, command and coordination, ensuring that tanks, guns, and soldiers could continue moving forward without interruption.